Swami Vedanta Deshika celebrates the great Bhagavata Bharata. He says, Bharataya param namostu tasmai pratamodaharanaya bhakti bhajam. If you want to count the greatest devotees of Ram on earth, whom will you start with? First you have to open your fist, then start counting in your fingers. Whom will you put first? Some may put Hanuman, some may put Lakshman, some may put Shabari, some may put Vibhishan, some may put Guha. But Swami Vedanta Deshika says the first has to be only Bharata. Bharataya param namostu tasmai pratama udaharanaya bhakti bhajam. Bhakti bhajam, for bhakti, for devotion towards Ram. It can be nobody other than Bharata in the first hand. So Bharataya param namostu tasmai pratamodaharanaya bhakti bhajam. He was not even second or third in the list. He was first in the list of devotees of Ram. And to that first class devotee of Ram, Dasharatha, who was the father of Bharata, himself committed a Bhagavata apacharam by unnecessarily doubting a great Bhagavata like Bharata. So Ramayanam not only preaches us the story of Ram and Sita getting married, Sita getting abducted, it also says that even great people who have ruled for such a long time fail in certain places where they doubt devotees like Bharata. Moreover, when this was happening on one side, we should also know where the turning point comes. We will be seeing how Manthara influenced Kaikeyi later, how the poets in the regional languages, be it Kamban in Tamil or Tulasidas or Bhanu Bhaktacharya, have described Manthara. We'll see that later. But we should now know how this Manthara comes into picture. For this, there is a beautiful shlokam given by Srimad Ananda Tirtha in his Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya. The composition called Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya by Srimad Ananda Tirtha, he says, Purvam Kshirabdhijata Katamapi Tapasair Apsarastvam Prayata Tam Netu Tatnamo Anadham Kamala Janirurava Chaushu Rama Abhishekam Bhutva Dasi Vilumpaswagatamaphi Tatah Karmana Prapsayetvam Setyuktva Manthara Asi Tadanukrita Vatsaye Chaitat Kukarma. It seems once an Apsara, a damsel belonging to the Swargalokam, went to Brahma and asked, Hey Brahma, could you please give me a boon? Brahma said, What boon do you want? I want to go to hell. She could have better said, I'll go to earth, because earth is no different from our hell. People think that hell is somewhere where people suffer. Hell is not only the place where people suffer. Even in this earth, people are still suffering. So Brahma thought in the same lines and said, I will not send you to hell. I will give you a place where you will be born on earth. He was equating earth to hell. So he said, you will be born as a human, you will be born on earth. Then she said, I have asked you whether I can go to hell and you're telling that I'll be born on earth. He said, I don't know whether you'll be going to earth or hell, but wherever you go, it will be turned into a hell. So, she who incarnated as a human, that Apsara, was born as Manthara. Manthara was the childhood mate. When Kaikeyi was born and brought up in Kekeya Desham, in her province, right from her childhood days, there was a personal maid, an attendant to Kaikeyi. She was called Manthara. And Manthara, though she was with cruel and crooked thoughts, she had a lot of affection towards Kaikeyi. So she is the one who will bring a diversion in this Ramayanam. On the other hand, Tulasidas makes a slight diversion here. He says, all the Devas were observing. What did the Devas initially do? If you remember Balakandam, there was a Sharanagati which was performed by all the Devas with Brahma as the Acharya towards the feet of Divya Dampati, that is Narayan and Lakshmi, wherein they said, due to the atrocities of Ravan and his brothers, this earth is not able to bear their torture, so you have to relieve us, all the people of this earth and Swargalokam, from this huge torture. Bhagavan said, Abhayam, don't worry, your Sharanagati has been accepted. I will be born as Ram and all my weapons will accompany me as my brothers. And he also said that all Devas will be born as monkeys. But as you have observed till date, nothing has been happening about Ravan and his brothers. It is only Ram meeting Sita, Sita meeting Ram, their marriage happening, Parashurama then came, and then there was coronation which was fixed for Ram. Everything, whatever was intended by Devas was not happening according to their plans. On the other hand, Ayodhya was living in the lively mood of Ram becoming the king. So they all went to Saraswati and said, "Hey Saraswati, you will have to somehow bring a diversion in this life history of Ram, so that he goes to Lanka and kills Ravan and his brothers, so that he could relieve the earth of all the burden caused by these brothers." Saraswati, she immediately entered the tongue of Manthara, that servant maid, that personal attendant of Kaikeyi. Tulsidas says this very beautifully. He says, "Namu Manthara mandamati cheri Kaikeyi keri ajas petari tahi kari gai giramati feri." Namu Manthara mandamati cheri Kaikeyi keri. When Manthara was going towards Kaikeyi, Saraswati entered her tongue, so that she could give words, she could shoot poison words in such a way that Manthara could poison Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi, who could get brainwashed, would divert her attention of her affection of Ram and then bring hatred, thereby diverting Ram towards the forest, and so on and so forth, so that whatever plans Devas had in their mind could happen. This was on one hand. We have seen how Dasharatha informed Sumantra how he had committed the Bhagavata Apacharam. On the other hand, we saw how the damsel, the Apsaras, was born as Manthara, and how Saraswati entered the tongue of Manthara through the prayers of Deva. But the citizens of Ayodhya were neither aware of Manthara who was coming towards Kaikeyi, neither was there any prejudice of them against Bharata. They did not know that Dasharatha had this intention in his mind. Their only thought was, Ram is going to be coronated. So Arunachala Kavi composes a beautiful kriti, a composition on this particular incident, where all the citizens gathered and they were preparing. It seems that the ladies started talking amongst themselves that our dear son Ram is going to get coronated. People started decorating their houses. So he says, "Ramanak mannan mudi dharitare nanmayundore kale." Ramanak mannan mudi dharitare பாமரமே உனக்கு என்னடி பேச்சே, பாமரமே உனக்கு என்னடி பேச்சே, பழம் நழுவி பாலில் விழுந்தார் போலாச்சே, பழம் நழுவி பாலில் விழுந்தார் போலாச்சே, ரமனுக்கு மன்னன் மூடி தரித்தாரே. பரசுராமன் கர்வம் தீத்த வண்டி, நம்மையெல்லாம் அவன் காத்த வண்டி. பரசுராமன் கர்வம் தீத்த வண்டி, நம்மையெல்லாம் அவன் காத்த வண்டி. பட்டம் கட்ட ஏத்த வண்டி, ராமன் பட்டம் கட்ட ஏத்த வண்டி, 4 பேரில் மூத்த வண்டி கண்மணி. ராமனுக்கு மன்னன் முடி தரித்தாரே, நன்மையுண்டோரே காலே. ராமனுக்கு மன்னன் முடி தரித்தாரே. Seems all the citizens were so happy that Ram was getting coronated. Now comes the turning point. We have observed in all the dramas that there will be some turning point wherein there would be a villain who will be coming. Here the villain is a she-villain. It is nobody other than Manthara. Now we have to see who this Manthara is. Why did she have so much of vengeance, and what turning point she brought in Ramayanam, and how did she bring it? Now each of the poets, each of the composers, be it in Sanskrit of Valmiki or Raghuvamsham by Kalidas, or the other languages, Kamban of Tamil, Ramanuja Eluttachan of Malayalam, Kumara Valmiki of Kannada, or be it Tulasidas of Hindi tradition, Ramacharita or Bhanubhaktacharya in the Nepali tradition. They all have this challenge of presenting a character before the reader. They have to present a character before the reader. When they present Ram, they may present him in a different manner. Each of these poets have a different way of presenting. Now, we have to see how the Tamil poet has presented this character of Manthara. He gives a beautiful description of this character, Manthara. He says, தோன்றிய கூனியும் துடிக்கும் நெஞ்சினாள் ஊன்றிய வெகுளியாள் உழைக்கும் உள்ளத்தாள் காந்து எரி நயனத்தாள் கதிக்கும் சொல்லினாள் மூன்று உலகினுக்கும் ஓர் இடுக்கண் மூட்டுவாள் மூன்று உலகினுக்கும் ஓர் இடுக்கண் மூட்டுவாள். We have even in our lives we have found that there are certain characters, there are certain people. They will be staying in one corner of the world. We will be staying in the other corner of the world. We are related to them. They are also related to us. If they want to create some kind of a fight, if they want to create some kind of a controversy, it is not necessary that they have to come right to our place and create. Now we have this technological advancement. Initially they had letters, followed by telegrams, then they had phones. Now we have cell phones. So a cell phone, a single call is enough to create so much of fight. We have been observing this in our houses. Likewise, the poet says, மூன்று உலகினுக்கும் ஓர் இடுக்கண் மூட்டுவாள். To all the three worlds, she herself, she alone is enough to create fight between all the three worlds, it seems. He says, தோன்றிய கூனியும். Manthara was called Kuni in the Tamil tradition because she had a huge hunchback. That hunch in Tamil is called Koon. Since she was a female, she was called Kuni. This Kuni, Tondriya Kuniyum Tudikkum Nenjinal. Her heart started beating fast once she came to know that there was something auspicious happening in Ayodhya. She did not know of Ram's coronation. But whenever there is auspiciousness, there is a sign of auspiciousness, or there is something auspicious which is happening, Manthara could not tolerate it. So, Tudikkum Nenjinal. She will act as if she did not know anything and she knew how to create fights. There are certain people who will act innocent, but they will have something else in their mind. Manthara is the queen of all those people. She used to have the other thing. She used to have some kind of an evil, destructive thought in her mind. Her eyes could convey what message her heart wanted to say. Just because she was old, just because she had a hunchback, just because she was a servant maid, her words were not subservient. Her words used to be so strong enough that anybody could be brainwashed by that. This is how Manthara is being described by the Tamil poet Kamban. We have to see how the Nepali poet Bhanubhaktacharya has described the entry of Manthara. He says, Vani. Vani. Here Vani means, actually the word Vani means one who can speak beautifully. Actually the poet doesn't mean Manthara here, but he means her in the other sense. Vani means someone who talks constructively, but the poet says she is the one who talks but destructively. Vani gaitimi vigna pari kari auti Manthara kaikehi dvistri ka ghatma paserti mulekam siddh lavu gai gauta ka ivachan suner jhatpat tes Manthara ma pasina kaikeyi kankup bula un bhani fe kaikeyi ma pasin. We have seen how the Tamil poet Kamban has described. We have also seen how Bhanubhaktacharya says with the single word Vani that she was not the one who could talk constructively, but all her thoughts and words were destructive. Now we should see how Valmiki has described. He says, Nyati dasiyato jata kaikeya tu sahoshita prasadam chandra sankasham arurohaya drichaya. It seems Kaikeyi was reclining on her bed. Her face was so beautiful that it seemed as if her face was no different from the moon. But when Rahu attacks the sun or moon, according to our tradition during Kurmavataram, when one of the demons wanted to taste the Amritam, the nectar which Devas had to get, he observed that Vishnu in the form of Mohini was trying to dupe them. When he knew that Vishnu was trying to dupe them, he disguised himself in the form of a Deva, and he went to the section, to that side of Devas. This transformation, this disguise of a demon to a Deva just for drinking Amritam and coming to their side was observed by two people, that is Chandra and Surya, that is sun and the moon. By the time they observed and by the time they wanted to inform Bhagavan, who was in the form of Mohini, this demon who came in the form of a Deva had consumed little of the Amritam, so he had become immortal. Once Chandra and Surya, that is sun and the moon, informed Bhagavan, Bhagavan immediately chopped off the head of this demon who had disguised himself as a Deva using a Sudarshana Chakram. But since he had drunk Amritam, since he had consumed that Amritam, he was immortal, he could not be killed. But his head and the body were separated. Meanwhile, a snake, a five-hooded snake, was coming on the way. Vishnu chopped the head of the snake and the tail of the snake into two parts. Then the head of that snake, the five-hooded snake, was connected to the body of this demon, and the tail of this snake was connected to the head of the demon. Hence they are called as Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the one who attacks, who covers Chandra and Surya. That is why we call as the Grahana Kalam. This is called as eclipse. We find that a full sun is covered by something dark. If we speak according to science, it is nothing but moon comes in the path between the sun's rays, that is sun, and the earth. So we get full eclipse or we may get partial eclipse. But according to tradition, that is nothing but Rahu which attacks the sun or the moon. Here Valmiki says, it seems Kaikeyi was reclining on this bed like a moon. This Manthara who entered the room of Kaikeyi had come without an intimation. She did not inform Kaikeyi through a letter or through SMS that she is going to come. She came yadrichaya. Ichaya means out of wish or coming knowingly. Yadrichaya means without knowledge. So she had come without knowledge, like how Rahu attacks the moon to form an eclipse. So now Kaikeyi was no more safe. As of now she was a beautiful moon, but now Rahu has attacked her. That Rahu came in the form of Manthara. So now she had come without intimation. So Valmiki is beautifully saying that the bad times have started. Nyati dasi yato jata Kaikeya to sahoshita prasadam chandra sankasham aruroha yadrichaya. Now Kaikeyi was reclining on the bed. She was having her nap. Manthara, who had come to know the happenings of Ayodhya from the citizens of Ayodhya, that Dasharatha had planned and decided to coronate his eldest son Ram as the king, immediately got agitated, frustrated, angry and jealous, and she barged into the court of Kaikeyi, who was reclining on the bed like a moon, which is unaware of Rahu, which came in the form of Manthara, which was attacking it. She said, "Uttishtamude, oh you fool, get up." Kaikeyi did not understand anything because she was reclining on the bed and she was so happy, but somebody comes and says, "Oh you fool, get up." Uttishtamude kim seshe bhayam tvam abhivartate upaplutam ghaugena natmanam avibudhyase. Oh you fool, are you unaware that a huge calamity is falling on you? And unaware of this, you are sleeping on it as if you have achieved everything on this world. Still Kaikeyi did not understand. She now said, "Hey Manthara, why are you shouting like this? Huh? Why are you shouting like this? You're calling me a fool. You're saying that a calamity is going to fall on me. I am having a nap. I'm very peaceful. I'm leading a very nice life. Why are you all of a sudden coming? You've barged into my chamber and you're shouting at me. Especially you're calling me a fool. What has happened? And what can happen to me, Manthara? What do you think can happen to me when I have a great son like? What would we expect? That she would put her son's name Bharata there. Now she said, what will happen to me? What can happen to me? For I have such a great son like Ram. Paravarum pudalvarai payakka yavarum ura arum tuyarai vittu urudi kaanbaral. The Tamil poet says, it seems a normal mother itself in this world would convince her friend who's threatening her, why should I worry when I have a son like so and so? For normal human beings who do not have the proper attitude, who do not know how to behave, who have very little knowledge, for having sons like them itself, a mother will still boast that I have a great son. Imagine that a mother has a son who has the best of the attitude, the best of the knowledge, the best of the strength, the best of the beauty, the best of everything. Will she be ever frightened of anything in this world? So Kaikeyi says, why should I worry when I have a great son like Ram? So the Tamil poet in turn says, it seems Kaikeyi said, a normal mother itself boasts for having had a great son. Now I don't have a normal son. The Vedas have been searching for a particular Brahman. They have been searching for the Supreme Person, and that Supreme Person has incarnated as my son. When she says my son, biologically she is not the mother, but she regarded herself to be the mother of Ram. So she says, when I am the mother to a son who is the incarnation of the Supreme Person himself, why should I worry, Manthara? Paragarum pudalvarai vayakkayavarum muravarum tuyarai vittu urudi kaanbaral. Viravu arum puvikku ellam vedame ana. Vedame ana. Even the Vedas say, Ramanai payandadarku idar undo என்றாள். Ramanai payandadarku idar undo. I have a son like Ram. What obstacle can come? Manthara took her left hand, placed it on her forehead and started hitting on it. And she said, it is that person whom you are mentioning as your son who's the calamity who's going to befall you, Kaikeyi. When I said that you are a fool who's unaware of what calamity is going to fall you, please don't think that that calamity is a flood or an earthquake. That calamity is nobody other than the person whom you think will protect you. Akshayam Saumahaddevi Pravrittam Tvadavinashanam Ramam Dasharatho Raja Yauvarajyebhishekshyati. Hey Kaikeyi, are you not aware that your husband, King Dasharatha, has planned and decided with all the ministers and the citizens of Ayodhya that they would be coronating the eldest son Ram as the king? Are you not aware of that? Unaware of all this which is happening in Ayodhya, you are saying that you are very lucky, you have a great son Ram. And you do not know that they are going to coronate that greatest son of Kaushalya as the king and not your son Bharata. Akshayam Sumahaddevi Pravrittam Tvadvinashanam. Auspiciousness, Akshayam is going to come to somebody else. That somebody else is Kaushalya, because her son Ram is going to be coronated. Tvadvinashanam, at the same time when they are going to prosper, you are going to get deteriorated because your son Bharata is not being made the king. Ramam Dasharatho Raja. Dasharatha Raja has planned that Ram Yauvarajyebhishekshyati will be coronated as the future king. Now Kaikeyi, who was still reclining on the bed, initially she was resting on the bed, when Manthara came and said, hey Kaikeyi, you fool, get up, the calamity is going to fall on you. Still she slightly got up and convinced Manthara that no calamity can come to me because I have a great son like Ram. Now Manthara informed the news that Dasharatha had decided to coronate Kaushalya's son Ram as the king. As soon as Kaikeyi heard the information that Ramam Dasharatho Raja Yauvarajyebhishekshyati, she heard the word Yauvarajyam, that is Dasharatha Raja had decided to coronate Ram as the future king. She arose from her bed. Valmiki says how she arose. Manthara vacha shrutva shayanat sa Shubhanana. Shubhanana, the beautiful faced one, that is Kaikeyi, on hearing the news of Manthara, she immediately arose from her bed. Uttasthau harsha sampurna. There was no place left on her cheeks where she could smile more, because she was smiling to the fullest. She was showing all her teeth. Uttasthau harsha sampurna chandralekheva sharadi. Chandralekheva sharadi. On like how a moon is so happy on meeting its counterpart, that is the winter. Like how a moon is so happy, likewise Kaikeyi, who was described as the one with a moon-like face, was now happy on hearing that winter. What was the winter news she heard? The cool news she heard was that her son Ram was to be coronated. She was so gladdened by this news that she immediately arose and she started talking to herself. She said, "What will I do? What should I do? There is very little time left for his coronation. What can I present him? What can I do? Etanme priyamakhyatam kim va bhuyah karomi te." What can I do? Well, will the king give me some responsibility or duty so that I could discharge the duty effectively? No, there is very little time left, Manthara. Now what do you think I can do? She is asking Manthara. Manthara herself was dejected with the news, and now she is asking what she can do. Rameva bharatevaham visesham nopalakshaye. Whether the coronation happens to my son Ram or my son Bharata. Here also look at the beauty. She did not say that whether the coronation happens to my son Bharata or Kaushalya's son Ram. She says whether the coronation happens to my son Ram or to my son Bharat. So she put Ram and Bharat on the same shoe. She put both of them at par. She did not differentiate between them. Rameva bharatevaham visesham nopalakshaye. Whether an auspicious thing is happening to my son Ram or to my son Bharat, I cannot differentiate, because both of them are not different to me. Tasma tushtasmi yadraja Ramam rajye vishekshati. The king has done a right decision of coronating Ram. He is the able administrator, and I can tell you, Manthara, please take my words in black and white. You take my words, mark my words, that my son Ram will be a better administrator to my husband King Dasharatha. He will discharge his responsibilities much more in a better fashion. Don't think that nobody can equal King Dasharatha. There is a person, he is my son Ram. My Ram is a capable administrator and he could do. Well, what is your opinion, Manthara? She was asking Manthara. Manthara was getting more and more aggressive with every line what Kaikeyi was saying. Now, the time period in which Kaikeyi heard the news. What news? That Ram is being coronated as the king. The king Dasharatha had decided to coronate the future king Ram. This was the news. This was the happy news. This news reached Kaikeyi as well as Ram's mother Kaushalya. Both of them it reached. But it reached at the same time, it reached through different sources. One of the dasis, one of the servant maids, went and informed Kaushalya. At the same time, Manthara, who was also a servant maid, who was exclusively a servant maid only to Kaikeyi, went and informed Kaikeyi. Both the mothers, that is Ram's biological mother Kaushalya and Kaikeyi, who regarded Ram as her son, both of the mothers, Kaushalya and Kaikeyi, though they received information at the same time, they were both happy. There was no distinction that Kaushalya was 1% more happy and Kaikeyi was 1% less. Both of them were happy. But now, happiness itself differs. For example, a son, imagine that he has passed his 12th standard with 90% marks. He goes to his school, he's very much tensed, he wants to know what marks he has secured. The mark list is put on the sheet. In olden days, the mark list used to be put on the board, but now if you check, the mark sheets are being uploaded in the net itself. So imagine the son is being very tensed, he wants to know what marks he has secured. He is entering his roll number, probably his hall ticket number. He clicks enter and he finds that he has secured 90% marks. Secure 90% marks. Secure 90% marks. Secure 90%